Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-salankaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna-Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paspachari Dasatani. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today we will discuss chapter 47, Canto 10, The Song of the Bee, verses 1 to 14. First I will read the first two verses. So this chapter is also called the Brahmara Gita, verses 1 and 2. Sisuka uvacha tam vikshya krishanucharam vacha triya pralambabhaum navakanchanadocanam pitambaram pushparamalinam lasam mukaravinam pamiristakundalam savishmitako yam apipivyadarshana kutasakasha sutavesha bhushana itisma sarva prevarfrukshukas tam uttama-sloka padambujasrajam. Sukadeva Goswami said, the young women of Vraj became astonished upon seeing Lord Krishna's servant who had long arms, whose eyes resembled a newly grown lotus, wore a yellow garment and a lotus garland, and whose lotus-like face glowed with brightly polished earrings. Who is this handsome man? The gopis asked. Where has he come from? And whom does he serve? He is wearing Krishna's clothes and ornaments. Saying this, the gopis eagerly crowded around Uddhav, whose shelter was the lotus feet of Lord Uttama-sloka, Sri Krishna. Now, first I want to go to the Krishna book. Krishna book, that chapter 46, Uddhav 47. When the gopis saw Uddhav, they observed that his features almost exactly resembled those of Krishna, and they could understand that he was a great devotee of Krishna's. His arms were very long, and his eyes were just like the petals of a lotus flower. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore a garland of lotus flowers. His face was very beautiful, having achieved the liberation of Sarupya, and thus having the same bodily features as the Lord. Uddhav looked almost like Krishna. In Krishna's absence, the gopis had been coming dutifully to visit Mother Yasoda's house early in the morning. They knew that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda were always grief-stricken, and they had made it their first duty to come and pay their respects to the most exalted elder personalities of Vrindavan. Seeing the friends of Krishna, Nanda and Yasoda would remember himself and be satisfied, and the gopis also would be pleased by seeing Nanda and Yasoda. So, we will hear in this chapter the Brahmara Gita, the Srimati Radharani speaking in our madness of love to the bee, and Radharani is going to call Krishna a cheater. Srila Prabhupada writes, but when he failed to come back with Nanda Maharaj, it appears that he either cheated them or could not keep his promise. Expert devotees, however, have decided that Krishna was neither a cheater nor a breaker of promises. In his original identity, he returned to Nanda Maharaj and stayed with the gopis and Mother Yasoda in his Bhava expansion. So this we already discussed in chapter 45, that he actually returned in his second form. In his first form he stayed. His first form was not the original Krishna. It was an expansion of Vasudeva. So many reasons why Krishna had to stay in Mathura. He had to protect the Vrindavan from the attack of Dantavraka and many enemies. Because if Krishna would have stayed in Vrindavan, these enemies would have come to Vrindavan. So many reactions were going to be there. But as soon as Krishna left, they were always thinking of Krishna. And that is Krishna Smaranam. Lila Smaranam, Srila Prabhupada says. Here Krishna was playing his flute. Here Krishna was tending the cows. Here Krishna was lifting Govardhan. Srila Prabhupada writes, this is called Lila Smarana, and it is the process of association with Krishna most recommended by great devotees. Even Lord Chaitanya, when he was at Puri, enjoyed Lila Smaranam in association with Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, when Gadadhar Pandit was reading from the Bhagavatam and was reading from the 7th canto, the first 10 chapters, the whole story of Prahlad, and at the end, when it was finished, Lord Chaitanya would say, tell it me again, start again. So we can also remain absorbed in Krishna just by reading Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada said this Krishna book, this teachings of Chaitanya, is actually solace for devotees feeling separation from Krishna. All of us are in separation of Krishna, at least our consciousness is separated. Factually we are not. That will be explained later. But because we are in separation, we need to learn the process of getting in union with Krishna in separation. That's the art. So the farther away Krishna is for the devotees, the closer he is in their heart. Now I will go to Nectar of Devotion. The Nectar of Devotion contents Nectar of Devotion, and we go to chapter 30. Further features of ecstatic love for Krishna. And there in the last section is anxiety. That the last paragraph. When Mother Yasoda was very anxiously waiting for Krishna to return from Mathura, Maharaj Nanda gave her this solace. My dear Yasoda, please don't be worried. Please dry your beautiful lotus-like face. There is no need for you to breathe so hotly. I will go immediately with Akrura to the palace of Kamsa and get your son back for you. Here is an instance of anxiety in ecstatic love caused by Krishna's awkward position. So devotees in Vrindavan, while Krishna was in Mathura, they were always worried about Krishna. Before he killed Kamsa, they were worried that Kamsa may do something to Krishna. Why did he send Uddhav instead of going himself? What was the qualification of Uddhav? Uddhav went, as we heard last time, he went to learn as well. He was a student of Brihaspati. Still he had to learn from the gopis how to love Krishna. He thought he was a great scholar and a great devotee, but when he went to Braj, his pride was crushed. He understood, I have so much to learn from these gopis. The qualifications of Uddhav: he was Yadava Praval, respected by all the Yadus. If he would see something in Braj and tell this to the Yadus, they would respect and believe him. He was a great counselor, an expert in counseling. Therefore, he would be skilled in counseling the gopis and Nanda Maharaj. So, yes, further. But for Uddhav, unfortunately, there was one scripture which he did not learn from Brihaspati. He did not learn from Brihaspati how to attain Braja Prem. Therefore he was sent to Braj to learn the Braja Prem from the Vrajavasis and especially from the gopis. So we're speaking here about Uddhav, who is already on the platform of Prema. But he was sent to learn about Braja Prem, a more intense love, and 7 stages of Prema, that Sneha, Pranaya, that Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, and then you have Raga, Anuraga, Bhava, Mahabhava. That so Mahabhava is a position of Srimati Radharani. Therefore he was sent to Braj to learn Braj Prema from the Vrajvasis and especially from the gopis. In the Garga Samhita describes that not only did he bring one letter, but he brought several letters. So here in this chapter we have only one letter, the letter for the gopis in general. But Garga Samhita said there were several letters. He brought one for Nanda, one for Yasoda, one for Radharani, another letter for all the gopis and for all the gopas, and for all the groups of gopis, and all of them got their own letter from Krishna. A lot of these verses are quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam. So of these letters, I just read a couple of them from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. This is Brihad Bhagavatamrita, chapter 46, verses 3 to 6. Dear gentle Uddhav, go to Braj and give pleasure to our parents, and also relieve the gopis' suffering of separation from me, just by console them by giving them my message. The commentary in Brihad Bhagavatamrita on this verse is quite interesting. What we see about another person when the person is absent usually indicates our true feelings, more reliable than what we say in his presence. So Krishna's confidential statements to Uddhav confirm that Krishna feels indebted to them. Although Srimati Radharani will challenge him today in her madness and say, "It cheated us," his words have no meaning. It cheated us, his words have no meaning. But actually his words are full of meaning. We will see that the message Uddhav will give, we will see later, have a double meaning. It seems for ordinary devotees that it's very philosophical, but it has a deep meaning which has relevance for the gopis on a higher level. Our acharyas, they know the mood of the gopis, and they has these insights, and we will hear of their insights. That so from the Bhagavatamrita further, the minds of those gopis are always absorbed in me, and their lives are very devoted to me. For my sake they have abandoned everything related to their bodies, including ordinary happiness in this life and religious duties needed for happiness in the next. Therefore, I take it upon myself to sustain these gopis. Here Krishna tells Uddhav why the gopis need to be so carefully consoled, and why he feels obliged to them, and what attribute sets them apart as the greatest devotees. They appear as being possessed by insanity. They appear on the verge of death away from Krishna, and for this sake they gave up everything in this life and in the next. So why don't they go to Mathura and see Krishna there, asks Sanatana Goswami. Because Krishna promised, I will return. That promise, as well as their concern for Krishna's happiness, keeps them from abandoning their responsibilities to their husbands, children and everything. So Krishna says, I will sustain them. Actually, Uddhav is thinking, how shall I find the gopis? Will they be just wandering in the forest, or will they be at home? And Sanatana Goswami says, no, even though they have given up their Stri Dharma, they still are living with their husbands and their children, and this because Krishna says, I will sustain them. Sustain means that he keeps the breath in the body, although the breath wants to go out. Sanatana Goswami continues, no need to worry that the family of the gopis will be uncared for, because Krishna is protecting the gopis' families, especially the gopis themselves. Is providing for the needs of the husbands and children, so what to speak of the gopis? So for any devotee who renounces everything, Krishna takes care and of his family as well. So there is one more verse from Bhagavatamrita, verse 6 of chapter 46. Simply because I have promised to return to them, my fully devoted coward girlfriends struggle to maintain their lives some way or other. Now, Bhagavatamrita 31, chapter 7, verse 42. As improbable as it seems to Krishna, these dear gopi girlfriends included Chandravali, even thought on the constant verge of death by the pain of separation, they managed somehow to survive. So Krishna is hoping that the message he is going to send with Uddhav will save their lives. The only reason that they continue to breathe is their hope that Krishna will come and return to Vrindavan. So there are, then Nectar of Devotion, chapter 43, ecstatic love in separation, symptoms such as great anxiety, lamentation, frustration, restlessness, madness, and illusion. So just a moment. I get Nectar of Devotion here on my screen. Nectar of Devotion. And we are in chapter 43. In chapter 43 refers to this verse. That it's near to the end. Let's see if I find it. Yeah, it starts with Mother Yasoda was looking at Krishna's makeup utensils. No, I can't find it. Anyway, we continue that. So Uddhava's purpose of visiting Vraj is to give consolation to Nanda and Yasoda. So he was trying his best, and he was talking about Krishna, thinking, how am I going to console them? Because if you have a son in the material world and the son leaves, then you can say, okay, don't cry. But Krishna is the Supreme Lord. How can we say don't cry? You should cry even more for Krishna. This is what Uddhav was thinking. How can I tell them don't cry? This is Krishna. Everyone should cry for Krishna. So Uddhav was saying, it's not your son. He's everyone's son. He's the son, the mother, the father of everyone, because Uddhav is a pandit. He's seeing to just Shastra Gyan. He's trying to explain to them how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda, Mother Yasoda. He says, you should not think that he's your son. How can you just say that he's your son? But Nanda Maharaj is blind to this Shastra Chakshus. So we had the details of this yesterday. But what is the whole purpose of separation from Krishna? It's to prove the purity of the love of the Brijvasis and to teach us what is real love for Krishna. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in the first part, Rohini is lamenting. This is later on in Dwarka. Alas, dear servant of Hari, the residents of Vraj have by evil fate been all but slain. They have lost the last trace of good fortune and are drowning in an ocean of gloom. There they suffer poisoned and scorched in the flames of an underwater fire. Please do not destroy my happiness by reminding me. When Vasudeva brought me back from Gokul, the cries of Mother Yasoda made even stones shoot tears and lightnings bolt shatter. But I am not very intelligent. After Krishna returned from his spiritual master, my sadness drove me to tell him briefly how the Brijvasis were faring. But this did not soften his heart, because all he did in response was sending Uddhav, an expert in the clever art of delivering messages. So that was Rohini. So we heard about the separation of Nanda and Yasoda, and we are going to hear about the separation of the gopis now. But the gopis are also in separation from Krishna. Krishna sent a message to the gopis as well. He did not have a message for them, but we don't hear about it in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 42. My dear Krishna, when you left Vrindavan to kill Kamsa in Mathura, all the coward boys became bereft of their 4 Bhutas, earth, water, fire and space, and the 5th Bhuta, air, was flowing very rapidly within their nostrils, so that are the Gopas. If a person is dead, then we say that he has given up 5 elements known as Bhutas. But in the case of In this case, four elements were already gone. The remaining air was still very prominent and blowing to their nostrils furiously. So this is an example of the gopis, how they felt. But there is another example of the gopis. Due to Krishna's departure from Vrindavan, Krishna's dearest cowherd boys felt as mentally light as possible, as cotton flying in the air without any shelter. So their minds were empty. They were just floating. The minds of the cowherd boys became almost vacant on account of Krishna's separation. There is another description of them. They became just like leafless trees on the top of hills, almost naked, skinny and frail, and did not carry any fruits or flowers. So this is the cowherd boys. They appear to be mad also, sometimes lying on the ground, rolling in the dust, sometimes laughing, sometimes running very swiftly. And also signs of death. They were lying in the valleys, breathing only slightly. Another description. Like neglected deities, in the house of a professional Brahmin. They are all descriptions from Nectar of Devotion. So now Uddhava has arrived. His chariot is outside, it's morning time, and the gopis have come, and from this verse we can see that they are wondering, who is this beautiful man? But before they saw him, according to the Garya Samhita, they started to harass the chariot driver, and they were slapping him in the face, and they asked, whose chariot is this? Tell us at once. And thus they saw Uddhava. These gopis were very passionate. They were attracted as he looked like Krishna. They knew he's a messenger and took him to a banana grove. Prabhupada says in Krishna book that every morning the gopis went dutifully to visit Mother Yasoda in the early morning, just to pay their respects and to remember Krishna. Seeing Yasoda and Nanda, they would be very pleased, remembering Krishna. Good, now we will read verse 3. Verse 3. Bowing their heads in humility, the gopis duly honored Uddhava with their shy, smiling glances and pleasing words. They took him to a quiet place, seated them him comfortably, and began to question him, for they recognized him to be a messenger from Krishna, the master of the goddess of fortune. That one line purpose, 2 lines. The chaste gopis were enlivened to see that the messenger had come from Krishna. As Uddhava will discover during his stay in Vrindavan, the unique gopis could not think of anything than their beloved Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur. They bowed their heads out of humility. Because being not really bashful, they covered their heads with their veils. This bashfulness suddenly appears on its own when they meet any respectable person. Thinking that Uddhava must be an intimate friend of their beloved, they smiled and looked at him with open eyes and greeted him with welcoming words and worshipped him with foot wash and other items suitable to the place. Thus they asked Uddhava questions in private, unseen by outsiders. By his coming promptly to such a place, they understood that he was bearing news about Krishna, the master of Lakshmi. Sukadev, siding with the gopis, showed some bitterness towards Krishna by addressing Krishna as the husband of Lakshmi. In order to make Krishna happy, Lakshmi will be coming Mathura. So what purpose could he have in sending messages to the coward women? So this is why the gopis said, why in verse 4, the next verse, the gopis, they said, we know that you are the personal servant of Krishna, the chief of the Yadus, and that you have come here on the order of your good master who desires to give pleasure to his parents. They say, we know why you came. You came to talk to Nanda and Yasoda. So Vishwanath's commentaries is on verse 4. We know who you are, so we do not have to ask. You are a follower of the Lord of the Yadus. Though Krishna was of coward origins, now he's living as kings of the Yadus. With such a big post, how it is possible that he will personally come here again? Therefore it seems, O Uddhav, that he had sent you, and he sent you not for us, but to pacify his mother and father. But what use has he for a father and mother who are coward people? He is sending you here just out of fear of general criticism that he is busy ruling in Mathura while Nanda and Maharaj are crying themselves to death. That, oh charming fellow, the most intelligent one has sent you to pacify Nanda and Yasoda. Having come here, go to Nanda and Yasoda, receiving you, they will blissfully forget about Krishna. His sharp intelligence has come in handy. In this way, in their words, there are many such implications of criticism hidden in the words of false praise. Hidden implications of criticism. Verse 5. We see nothing else he might consider worth remembering in these cow pastures of Vraj. Indeed, the bonds of affection for one's family members are difficult to break, even for a sage. So they say he came here because he's so attached to Nanda and Yasoda. So is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on text 5. We do not see anyone else worthy of remembrance in Vraj, but if he disrespects even his father and mother and Yasoda, whom he is remembering, how is it possible that we or persons like us can have a place in his memory at all? Even those who take sannyas find it hard to give up relationship with father and mother, but Krishna very easily has given up a relationship with countless wives of others whom he enjoyed. What severe sense of renunciation Krishna has. So look, he has renounced so many wives. He renounced others' wives who has enjoyed. Thus they describe the kind of friendship Krishna had with them. That's text 6. The friendship shown towards others, those who are not family members, is motivated by but personal interest. And thus it is a pretense that lasts only until one's purpose is fulfilled. Such friendship is just like the interest men take in women or bees in flowers. So we have a purport. Can someone read the purport of this verse 6, please?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains here that attractive women like flowers possess beauty, fragrance, tenderness, charm, and so on. And as bees drink only once of a flower's nectar and then leave it for another, fickle men abandon beautiful and devoted women to pursue others' pleasures. This tendency is condemned here by the gopis, who gave their hearts completely to Sri Krishna. The gopis wanted only to exhibit their charms for Lord Krishna's pleasure, and in the pain of separation, they questioned the motives of his friendship with them. These are the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Both Lord Krishna and the gopis are completely liberated souls engaged in spiritual loving affairs. By contrast, our so-called loving affairs, being perverted reflections of the perfect loving relationships in the spiritual world, are polluted with lust, greed, pride, and so on. Like all liberated souls, the gopis, and certainly the Lord Krishna himself, are eternally free of all these lower qualities, and their intense loving affairs are motivated exclusively by unalloyed devotion. Thank you, Maharaj.
So Krishna was with them, but then in a moment he just left. They were thinking, was he really our friend? Was this real friendship? Or he just wanted to enjoy and then he left? So this verses talk about friendship. That Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment on this verse. Because he has no use for mother, father, brother or anyone, he should not have possessiveness of them. But because he has use for you women since he's lusty, he should be remembering you all the more. But this verse answers. Friendship with those other than parents is motivated. Without those motives, the relationship does not exist. Thus, they should be condemned. Those who make friendship, those who are the object of friendship, and those who assist in bringing about friendship are all to be condemned because of the selfish motivation. There is friendship where there is motive, and there is no friendship when there is no motive. The friendship of man with women is the same. The relationship of man with a woman who, like a flower, possesses beauty, fragrance, softness and sweetness, and is even with steady heart, is condemned. It is like the bee making friendship with the flower. The bee drinking once the honey from the flower, endowed with so many good qualities, gives up the flower and goes elsewhere. In the same way, the man gives up the woman after enjoying her. Though she is worthy of enjoyment, endowed with good qualities, and is faithful. In this case, there is motivation, but no friendship at all. The relationship is considered even more despicable. So they are saying that maybe he came here because he's attached to his parents, but we don't think he loves us. He would have come himself. Why did he send a messenger? There must be some motive here. They continue their discussions by giving examples. Text 7. Prostitutes abandon a penniless man, subjects an incompetent king. Students their teacher. Once they have finished their education, and a priest, a man who has remunerated them for a sacrifice. So here they are giving some very choice examples. Friendship can be motivated, they say. Text 8. That birds abandon trees when its fruits are gone, guests a house after they have eaten, animals a forest that has burned down, and a lover the woman he has enjoyed, even though she remains attached to him. So that's all about friendship in this world. The commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The last verse explains that friendship do not exist without motivation. This verse illustrates that statement by listing a series of examples. Dipaka Nyaya. The prostitute gives up the penniless man. As long as the man has money, she does not give him up. The citizens give up the king who cannot protect them. The priest gives up the sponsor once has given a donation. The bird gives up the tree once the fruit have rotted. A paramour gives up a woman, though she is eager enjoyment. As long as she is young, he does not give her up. Where the motivation no longer exists, the friendship ceases. Since Krishna has fulfilled his goals with the women of Mathura, How is it possible that we are worthy of his remembrance? Therefore they indicate that Krishna did not have love for the gopis. First, women in the singular and paramours is the plural form. This implies that it is all right to reject a woman who is involved with many men out of lust. However, we are many, and we have only one male object of love, and it is not impelled by lust, since we had prema for him since childhood. Yet still he does not show us love. By neglecting so many of us, he shows unprecedented cruelty. So, text 9 to 10. It makes me think about friendship in this world. All the friendships that we have, especially with non-devotees. So, what's the motivation? Interesting analysis. Text 9, 10. Thus speaking, the gopis, whose words, bodies, and minds were fully dedicated to Lord Govinda, put all their regular work now that Krishna's messenger, Sri Uddhav, had arrived among them. Constantly remembering the activities their beloved Krishna had performed in his childhood and youth, they sang about them and cried without shame. Can someone read the purport? 9:10.
The word Bhavyayo had indicated that ever since their childhood, the gopis has been completely in love with Krishna. Thus, even though social customs dictated that they not reveal their love to others, they forgot all external considerations and wept openly before Krishna's messenger Uddhava.
Right. Vishwanath, revealing through their own mouths their unfaithfulness to their husbands, they then gave up consideration of social criticism. While repeated singing Krishna's Balya and Kashora pastimes, they began to cry. During Krishna's baby pastimes, their prema was pure, nirupadika, or unconditional, but during Krishna's Kashora age, their prema was kamupadika, by lust. And now, verse 11. Verse 11 starts with describing Srimati Radharani. 11. One of the gopis, while meditating on her previous association with Krishna, saw a honeybee before her and imagined it to be a messenger sent by her beloved, and thus she spoke as follows. Can someone read the purport? There is no need to read the Sanskrit, just the translation.
Srimati Radharani is referred to in this verse as Kachit, a certain gopi. To establish that this particular gopi is in fact Srimati Radharani, Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the following verses from the Agni Purana. At dawn, the gopis inquired from Krishna's servant Uddhava about the Lord's pastimes and recreation. Only Srimati Radharani, immersed in thought of Krishna, withdrew her interest in the talks. Then Radha, who is worshipped by the residents of her Vrindavan village, spoke up in the midst of her girlfriends. Her words were full of pure transcendental knowledge and expressed the ultimate portion of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Lord Krishna states, Vedaishcha sarver aham eva vedya. Of all the Vedas I am to be known. To know Krishna is to love Krishna, and thus Radharani, by her own example and words, revealed her supreme love for the Lord. Having quoted the above verses from the Agni Purana, Srila Jiva Goswami also quotes the following from the Nrsimha Tapani Upanishad, Purvakanda 2.4. All the demigods and all the transcendental philosophers who desire liberation bow down to the Supreme Lord. We should follow suit.
Jiva Goswami says, Srimad Radharani has developed a very distinct mood of nirvedam, or loss of interest. And because of this, she is becoming angry. She is showing some anger. She has so many sansari bhavas. She is thinking about death. And because she is in this condition, she lost all traces of desire, lost all hope of getting Krishna. And Krishna hasn't come. He sent a messenger instead. She was expecting Krishna and Krishna didn't come. Isn't in this madness now, she's becoming intolerant of any discussion about Krishna. She doesn't want to hear about Krishna. So she's trying to discuss other topics with her friends. So we go back again to verse 11. Read the verse again. One of the gopis, while meditating on her previous association with Krishna, saw a honeybee before her and imagined it to be a messenger sent by her beloved. Srila Vishwanasri Bhakti Thakur. Someone Kachit, the daughter of Rishabhanu, endowed with 7th stage of prema called Mahabhav. You have prema, Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Raga, Anuraga, Bhava, Mahabhav. Endowed with the 7th stage of prema called Mahabhav, the highest one, which is the embodiment of essence of the Ladini Shakti. Imagine through meditation Krishna's relationship with the women of Mathura, she became angry. Beloved Krishna has sent his messenger here to pacify me. Imagine in this way she began to speak to a bee which had just flown in front of her. Or on the pretext of the bee, she was actually directing her words to Uddhava. So, in the Garga Samhita, there is a description there that Srimati Radharani was in a beautiful cottage of the Yamuna shore at a banana tree forest, and she was anointed with sandalwood paste and burned by the flames of separation. So she offered Uddhava a seat, and Uddhava started to praise Srimati Radharani and tried to pacify her, because he could see her mood. So what did Uddhava say to Radharani first before he's going to say his message? Uddhava said to her, "Eternally Sri Krishna is the perfect personality of Godhead. Eternally you are his supreme goddess. Eternally Sri Krishna enjoys transcendental pastimes. Eternally you enjoy transcendental pastimes within. Eternally Krishna is Lord Narayan. Eternally you are the goddess of Lakshmi. Eternally Krishna is Lord Brahma. Eternally you are the goddess Saraswati. Eternally Krishna is Lord Shiva. Eternally you are the goddess of Parvati. Eternally Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and eternally you are his greatest devotee. Krishna is the father of the 4 Kumaras, and you are the auspicious Shruti Shastra. Krishna is Jahya Varahya, who plays in the ocean of devastation. You are the earth goddess. Krishna is Narada, best of divine sages, and you are the Veena in his hand. Krishna is Narayan Rishi, son of Dharma, a companion of Nara. You are Shanti, who brings peace to the living entities. Krishna is Lord Kapila. You are the mystic perfection served by the Siddhas. Krishna is Dattatreya, king of the great sages, and you are the perfection of transcendental knowledge eternally. Krishna is Jahya. You are Dakshina. Krishna is Urkram. You are Jayanti. Eternally Krishna is Prita, and you are the beautiful Queen Archie. And Krishna appeared as Matsya avatar to kill Shakshur, and you became the 4 Vedas. When during the churning of the ocean milk, Krishna became Kurma, you became Vasuki, the auspicious churning rope. And Krishna became Dhanvantari, the physician who cured all suffering. You became his medicine of transcendental nectar. When Krishna became Mohini, you also became Mohini, the beautiful girl who bewilders all the world. When Krishna became Nrsimha, you became his man-like pastimes, which were so kind to his devotee. When Krishna became Vaman, you became his fame, which is chanting by the devotees. When Krishna became Parasuram, you became the sharpness of his axe. When Krishna became Ram, you became Sita. That I'm reading now from the Garga Samhita. That's what I mentioned in the beginning. When Krishna becomes the sage Vyas and writes Vedanta Sutra, you become his commentary on the Vedas. So what is the commentary of the Vedas? It is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Radharani here. When Krishna becomes Balaram, you become Revati. When Krishna becomes Buddha and bewilders the atheists, you become intelligence by which they bewilder them. When Krishna becomes Kalki, master of religion, you will become his pious deeds. Sri Krishna is the moon, and you are his moonlight eternally. Sri Krishna is the sun, and you are his sunlight eternally. Lord Krishna is Indra, and you are his queen Sachi eternally. Krishna is the fire, and you are his splendid light. Krishna is Kuvera, and you are the queen of his treasury. Krishna is the ocean of milk, and you are the silk-white waves of that ocean. Whatever Krishna assumes another form, you follow him and assume the form of his companion. When he assumes a universal form or becomes impersonal Brahman, you also become the universal form or impersonal Brahman. So there is no void in creation. Radharani is there and Krishna is there. Now he is the son of Rajas kings. Now you are born as the daughter of Vrishabhanu and perform charming pastimes and happiness and peace to your devotees. Krishna is the perfect supreme personality of Godhead, and you are his pastimes, and the potency therefore fulfills his desires. I offer my respectful obeisance to you, Shri Radha and Krishna, the supreme whose forms are eternal. O Radha, take this letter, don't lament. Krishna said, soon I will finish my duties here and then I will return. Please also take these 100 auspicious letters, one for each one of the 100 groups of beautiful girls in Vraj. This is from chapter 15 from the Garga Samhita, in one of the cantos of the Garga Samhita. So this is beautiful glorification of Radha and Krishna. Wherever Krishna goes, Radha is there. Now in separation, Radharani is there. And where is Krishna? Krishna is in her heart. So Uddhav met Radharani. She was in a dying condition, but death was not coming. So she had developed some anger, and in her anger, she will speak harsh words of love. So this is the Brahmara Gita, the son of the bumblebee. Again, Uddhav is very confused. How is he's going to console the gopis? Because he should tell them, don't cry, why are you crying? But they act for Krishna. How can I tell them not to cry? It is going to be a very difficult task for Uddhav to console the gopis. At the time the bumblebee comes, Uddhav is standing near Radharani, but she cannot see Uddhav. She sees only the bumblebee. This is what is going to happen at this point. Nectar of Devotion, that about Srimati Radharani in separation, chapter 29, Nectar of Devotion, quoted from the Dana Keli Kamudi, the yogurt pastime. That moment, there is happening something here on my screen. That just a moment. Okay. And Nectar of Devotion. Nectar of Devotion. This is chapter 29. And there is a section called Disappointment. In Dana Kele Kamudi, Srimati Radharani addresses one of her friends in this manner. My dear friend, if I cannot hear of the glorious activities of Krishna, it's better for me to become deaf. And because I am now unable to see him, it would be good for me to be a blind woman. This is another instance of disappointment due to separation of Krishna. Another thing that happened with Srimati Radharani is that since Krishna left her in one of her hands, since Krishna left her head in one of her hands, and she's constantly shedding tears. So this is in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 44. Her face is always sweat, and therefore she cannot sleep even for a moment. Since Krishna has left Radharani, she did not get a moment of sleep. She is always awake. But in the Prahlad Samhita, Uddhav tells them, the Supreme Lord Govinda is pierced by the arrows of Cupid, always thinking of you gopis. He's even not accepting his regular lunch, and he does not get any proper rest. So it has been described by Krishna himself. Radharani has become peace personified for me. Because of her, I go now without sleep. I steer constantly without blinking my eyes, and I'm always in a meditative mood. Because of her, I made my home in a cave of a mountain. Both Krishna and Radharani are feeling separation. Radharani is feeling separation from Krishna, and Krishna is feeling separation from Radharani and the gopis. So we will read verse 12. Radharani is speaking now, and she's chastising the honeybee. That's text 12. And the gopi said, "O honeybee, O friend of a cheater, don't touch my feet with your whiskers, which are smeared with the kumkum that rubbed until Krishna's garland when it was crushed by the breast of a rival lover. So let Krishna satisfy the women of Mathura. One who sends a messenger like you will certainly be ridiculed in the Yadu's assembly." Can someone read the purport, please?
Srimati Radharani indirectly chastised Krishna by chastising the bumblebee, which she took for his messenger. She addressed the bumblebee as Madhupa, one who drinks the nectar of flowers, and she addressed Krishna as Madhupati, the Lord of Madhu. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti points out that this and the following 9 verses exemplify 10 kinds of impulsive speech spoken by a lover. This verse illustrates the qualities of Prajalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following verse from his Ujjwal Neelamani 14.182. Prajalpa is speech that denigrates the tactlessness of one's lover with expressions of disrespect. It is spoken in a mood of envy, jealousy, and pride. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti points out that the word Kitava Bandho expresses envy. The phrase from Sapatnya to Naha, jealousy. The phrase Mas Prisha Angrim, pride. And the phrase from Vahatu to Prasadam, disrespect. While the phrase from Yadu Sadasi to the end of the verse decries Krishna's tactless treatment of Radharani.
Thank you. So Srimati Radharani says, "Bumblebee, you are accustomed of drinking honey from flower to flower, and therefore you are a messenger of Krishna, who is of the same nature." So she's accusing the bumblebee of being like Krishna. I can see at your mustache the red powder of the kumkum which was smeared on the flower garland of Krishna, while it was pressed against the breast of some other girl who is my competitor. You feel very proud because of having touched their garland. I can see your mustaches have become reddish. You have come here carrying a message for me, anxious to touch my feet, but dear brother, my dear bumblebee, let me warn you. I don't want any messages of your unreliable master, an unreliable servant of an... You are an unreliable servant of an unreliable master. Srimati Radharani purposely addresses the bumblebee sarcastically in order to indirectly criticize the messenger, Uddhav, who is sitting there. So like the other gopis, Srimati Radharani saw that Uddhav's bodily features resembled Krishna's, but she also saw Uddhav as being equal to Krishna. Indirectly, therefore, she indicated that Uddhav was as unreliable as Krishna himself. Srimati Radharani wanted to give specific reasons why she was dissatisfied with Krishna and his messenger, but we cannot understand why he was in this mood of Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita was also in that mood, but we cannot understand why he was in this mood of Srimati Radharani. Krishnadas Kaviraj says that you should hear these pastimes, but do not put forward mundane arguments. Just hear with faith. All you have to do is just hear. Evidence of the truth of these talks is found here in the song of the bumblebee. So Lord Chaitanya was also in this mood. Why was he in this mood of Radharani? Why was he chastising Krishna? So Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur enlightens us a little bit about why she's calling him a cheater. So we will read first a part of the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this verse 12. Seeing the bee buzzing around greedily for the fragrance of her lotus feet, Radha, possessed of divine madness, Divyonmad, began to speak. O bee, friend of the deceitful one, Kitava Bandhu. She then enumerates the reason why Krishna should be called a cheater. Krishna said, for my sake you have all given up everything to come here filled with attraction, and I have given you up. Please forgive me for this justice I have done. He also said, you have surrendered yourselves to me with the highest attraction, and it is impossible for me to repay. Sitting on the chariot of Akrura, Krishna sent a servant's message to the gopis, who were pained by the impending separation from Krishna, and said, I am coming quickly to Mathura. Because of these statements by Krishna are false, Krishna can be called a cheater. O bee, you are a friend of the cheater. As a friend, you are playing the role of a messenger. Do not touch my feet. So there are the two cheatings that it is impossible for you, impossible to repay you. Two is I will quickly return, come back from it. I come back from Mathura. Now the bee is trying to touch Radharani's feet, and she's saying, no, you are a friend of the cheater, playing the role of a messenger. Don't touch my feet. The bee started buzzing, and she heard what the bee was saying. She said, what is this? Will you not let me offer obeisance to you? That's the bee. So this is from the purport of Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur. And Radha replies to the bee, Oh, one who drinks liquor, madhupa, by contact with intoxicants, my feet will become impure. If you just want to offer obeisance, do that from far off. The bee seemed to reply, why you are accusing me of being drunk? I've no fault. Radha said, this is not just an accusation, it's true. Do not touch me with your whiskers tinged by the kunkuma of the garland from another woman's breast, which has been crushed by contact with Krishna's chest, or the garland worn by Krishna, which has been crushed by another woman's breast. Here, Radha puts the blame on the natural color of the bee's yellow's hair, thinking them to be tinged with kunkuma. That you have come to praise me when I'm in a state of anger without even washing your whiskers shows that you are without judgment, that you did not drink some liquor. Any intelligent person will understand that seeing you in that condition will only increase my anger, not decrease it. As the bee continued to hum, Radha thought that he was again speaking. Whatever the case, you should be happy. Radha answered, O protector of the liquor, Madhupalaka, go to Mathura, protect the liquor to be drunk by your master and drink it yourself. That is a good job for you, because you are unsuitable to be a messenger, being so stupid. Humming, the bee began to fly around. He seemed to be saying, I see you are finding many faults. Why should I hear all these words? Now I am going to Mathura. Let Krishna himself come and make you happy. Radha said, now he is sitting as the king of the Yadus. Thou a coward, born to the queen of Vraj. By some good fortune he has become a Kshatriya. Let him give happiness to those women who regard him as a Kshatriya. All the coward women mean nothing to him now. Let him continuously satisfy them. By the use of the plural maninam, those who regard him as Kshatriya, she indicates the unlimited number of women in Mathura whom he should enjoy. But when he satisfied one of them, others become angry. When he satisfied that woman, others become angry. Thus he will have to continuously satisfy them one after another. Thus he will have no opportunity to come to see us. The bee seemed to say, you are a notion of good fortune for him. You should not speak like this. If he did not keep you in his mind, why would he send me here as a messenger? She answered, you as his servant are carrying the clues of his love affairs, and he exhibiting those clues will be scorned in the assembly of Yadus. When the news for his transgressions with the Yadu women becomes known, the husbands will throw abuse on him. Or with such a messenger as you, all the assembly of the Yadus will get scorned in all countries by other Kshatriyas, because their women were enjoyed by coward men. And sending a messenger like you with the clues of his illicit affairs, he must certainly be intoxicated, being the master of liquor. All the words used in this verse arise from the emotions experienced by Radha. The word cheater arises from her indignation, asuya. The word co-wife, another woman, arises from jealousy, irsha. Do not touch my feet arises from pride, mada. Let him deliver to them comes from her desire to disrespect, avirdiran. Scorns in the assembly of Yadu arises from the urge to spit out harsh words. This constitutes prajalpa. So many kinds of jalpa are described. Another kind of jalpa in each verse we will see. To spit out rude words toward the beloved with expressions of disrespect and indignation, jealousy, and pride is called prajalpa. So it's all signs to understand this divyanmad, this divine madness. So this is that Radharani's mad speech to the bumblebee. These are Radharani's different kinds of prajalpine madness. Very difficult to understand. If you look at Krishna's pastimes, there are externally this is called apakara vikaram. Apparently Krishna is very merciless, is duplicitous, is a cheater, but actually we hear that Krishna has all good qualities. We have to understand the tattva, otherwise if you see only externally, apparently you find fault with Krishna. Radharani speaking these words out of great love for Krishna. If we say these things, then it would not be out of love. Actually, it will be in a critical mode. But Radharani, although it appears that she is speaking very critically, it is love actually. So we may think that Krishna is merciless. He left the gopis and made them suffer, but actually is thinking to do good for them. We have to hear this pastimes of Krishna in separation from the gopis, and Radharani also seemingly criticizing Krishna. So here again the drunkenness of the bumblebee. Radharani says, you should first go back to Mathura, there is many ladies there. If someone gets angry, then you can go to another one. Why have you come here? This is also part of her prajalpa. This is from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. How is Krishna offended the gopis? So they want to reject their minds from. So they want to reject them from their minds. The answer is given in verse 13. What is the offense that Krishna has done? Now we'll read text 13. 13. So many commentaries we could read for hours and hours, but you have to make a selection. Read verse 13. After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it? How is it then that the goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen by his deceitful words. That is 13. Can someone read the purport, please?
In this verse, Srimati Radharani continues to compare Sri Krishna to Bumblebee. And in her distress, she states that the reason the goddess of fashion is constantly devoted to his lotus feet must be that she has been fooled by Krishna's promises. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this statement of Srimati Radharani illustrates Parijalpa as described in Sri Ujjvala Nilamani 14.184. Parijalpa is that speech which, through various devices, shows one's own cleverness by exposing the mercilessness, duplicity, unreliability, and so on of one's mouth.
Thank you. Radharani showing her cleverness by exposing Krishna's mercilessness, duplicity, and reliability, and so on. From Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada. As you sit down on a flower just after tasting a little honey, you immediately fly away and sit down in another flower and taste its honey. Your master Krishna is exactly of the same nature, because he had given me only once the chance of tasting the touch of his lips, and then he left us altogether. I know also that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, who is always in the midst of lotus flower, is constantly engaged in Krishna's service. But I do not know how he has become so much captivated by Krishna and why she is so much attached to Krishna. Although she knows the actual character of Krishna, maybe she is simply captivated by the sweet words of Krishna. Therefore, she could not understand the real character of Krishna. But so far as we are concerned, we are more intelligent than the goddess of fortune. We are not going to be cheated anymore by Krishna or his messengers. So here she is exposing Krishna for his mercilessness, how he's unreliable. Further in Krishna book, According to expert opinion, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is subordinate expansion of Srimati Radharani. As Krishna has numerous expansions, Vishnumurti, similar Krishna's pleasure poets in Radharani, has also innumerable expansions of goddesses of fortune. Therefore, goddess of fortune is always anxious to be elevated to the position of the gopis. So we will go to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this verse. It's a very long commentary, but I will only read the first and the last paragraph. First, the bee seemed to say, "This yellow color is my natural color as a bee. It is not a comb from Krishna's alliance with another woman, but offense as Krishna committed. It thinks only of you and does not see another woman in Vrindavan even while dreaming. Why you become so angry?" The last paragraph. It's a whole conversation again between Radharani and the bee. But the last paragraph. The symptoms of Parijalpa are mentioned in the Ujjvala Nilamani, when a person reveals indirectly their own cleverness while enumerating another's fault of mercilessness, craftiness and fickleness, and other qualities, ungratefulness, love of love, lack of love. It is Parijalpa. So now, verse 14, the last verse for today. O bee, why do you sing here so much about the Lord of the Yadus in front of us homeless people? These topics are old news to us. Better you sing about that friend of Arjun in front of his new girlfriends, the burning desire in whose breasts he has now relieved. Those ladies will surely give up you the charity you are begging. So someone can read the purport.
With the words Agranam Agritona, Radharani laments that even though she and the other gopis gave up their homes to love Krishna in a conjugal relationship, the Lord left them and became a prince in the great royal city of the Yadus. Besides meaning Arjuna the victor, the word Vijay also directly indicates Sri Krishna, who is always victorious in his endeavors. And besides meaning old news, the word Puranam also indicates that Sri Krishna is glorified in the ancient Vedic scriptures of that name. In this verse, we observe in Radharani's mood the seed of jealous anger, which arises from an apparent disdain for Krishna, accompanied by a sarcastic sidelong glance directed towards him. Thus, this verse fits the following description of Vijalpa from the Ujjvala Nilamani 14.186. Skip the Sanskrit. According to learned authorities, Vijalpa is sarcastic speech that is addressed to the killer of Aga and that openly expresses jealousy while at the same time hinting at one's angry pride.
Yes. So, yeah. I will read a paragraph from Krishna book. Yeah. Srimati Radharani continued. You foolish bumblebee, you are trying to satisfy me and get a reward by singing the glories of Krishna. But it is a useless attempt. We gopis are bereft of all our possessions. We are away from our homes and families. We know very well about Krishna. We know even more than you. So whatever you make up about him will be old stories to us. Krishna is now in the city and is better known as a friend of Arjun. Now he has many girlfriends who are no doubt very happy in his association because the lusty burning sensation of their breast has been satisfied by Krishna. They are now happy. If you go there and glorify Krishna, they may be pleased to reward you. You are just trying to pacify me by your behavior as a flatterer, and therefore you have put your head under my feet. But I know the trick you are trying to play. I know that you are the messenger coming from even a great trickster, Krishna. Therefore, please leave me. So, at this point, Uddhav is hearing everything. And the bumblebee is humming and singing. Srimati Radharani thinks that the humblebee is singing the glories of Krishna. And Srimati Radharani says, "Don't tell me about Krishna." The bumblebee replies, "It's my nature to sing." That Srila Prabhupada writes, "Is there nothing else to sing?" It is my nature to sing. Srimati Radharani replies, "Is there nothing else to sing about? Sing about such a duplicitous person? Don't you know any other songs?" So Srimati Radharani will be angry for many verses, and we will continue tomorrow to hear about this Divyomat and Srimati Radharani in an angry mood. Good. Pavitra Prabhu, please speak.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
My respectful obeisances at your feet, Maharaj.
Hare Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I just want to ask, who is this bee? Was he sent by Krishna? And how did Radharani can hear the language of the bee?
Well, Srila Prabhupada writes that she was imagining the bee to be a messenger from Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes. That she was imagining this is a messenger from Krishna. She saw so many things that, yes. But of course, where is this bee? A bee in the pastimes of Krishna. It's a famous bee. It's still in the Bhagavatam. But I don't know no further information about it. Good. Any other points, please?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
Radharani is said to be the Vladimir Sakti of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you see her jealousy?
Say again, why?
Why is he exhibiting the quality of jealousy?
In jealousy, yeah. This is in our madness. This is the Divyomat, but like as explained by our acharyas, it's out of love. It's out of love. There is no selfish envy in this world. It's because someone has something and I feel sorry for it. I want it also. But her envy is, yes, she feels sorry because the others are now serving Krishna and she cannot do it. So that's selfless. And we are not used to that. We see envy as on the material side. Because of that material envy, we want to be the controller and the possessor and the owner, which belongs to Krishna. Krishna is all this, and we want it. So that's material envy. That's why we are here. But this is a spiritual envy. It's the opposite. She wants to serve Krishna, and she feels sorry because others are serving Krishna now. in Mathura. So that's difficult to understand in our conditioned state. But there is also spiritual envy, and that's good. Can be used in Krishna service. Is that all right?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, then Balita Pritimaya, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, these texts are like very much in relation to the Gopi Gita. In the starting verses, the Gopi is saying one text that Krishna is not the son of Mother Yashoda, but he is the super soul. He's the Paramatma in all living entities' heart. So just by reading that, one feels like wow, the gopis are telling like praising Krishna so much. But the Prashanta Mataji was explaining the commentaries of acharyas, and she was telling that what the inner meaning of the gopis is like. You are not behaving like the son of Mother Yashoda, but you are like a Paramatma. You're just witnessing our activities and you're not reciprocating to our feelings. So this is what was the inner meaning of the gopis. And even in this section, the what they're meaning, what they're saying is different, and what they mean is different. So I thought this both are little similar to the pastimes of the Rasa.
We will see the same thing further on. After having the experience of Radharani, observing her madness, Uddhav will praise the gopis for their love, because he realized I'm not on their level. And then he will read Krishna's letter. He will read Krishna's letter, and but there he will also say, yes, I'm the super soul in everyone's heart, and so on. But all these verses have two meanings. One meaning is for the unintelligent, the impersonalists, the yogis, the jnanis. And the inner meaning is for the gopis. An inner meaning is completely different. And our acharyas will reveal the inner meaning. And that is very interesting. Two meanings also. We'll have the same thing here a little further. Thank you. Anything else? No. Okay. Mother Prabhupada Priya, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it seems it's surprising that the actual messenger of Krishna is there, Uddhava, but then she's kind of ignoring him and then taking this bee to be the messenger of Krishna and talking to the bee. So it seems like, I just wonder, like, why doesn't she communicate all these, thoughts and feelings to the actual messenger, who is more likely is going to actually relay them to Krishna?
Well, the thing is, Divyon Mada, it's madness that may be that, but the question here is, does she that purposely for Uddhav alone and nothing else? I don't think so. It's really madness that comes up. Because she sees Uddhav and she's angry. She sends a messenger, but we want Krishna. And she gets in this whole madness. It may be one of our purposes also to show this to Uddhav, just a moment, I have to open the door here. I'm back immediately. Okay, that's done. Something else?
Raj, I also wonder about, I always wonder about this, is how does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur know all these, internal conversations going on? Is it does he get it from somewhere, or is it just his personal realization from within his heart, or how does he know these things?
Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur is midway between Lord Chaitanya and our time. And he is the Acharya of this midways. And some think he's a reincarnation of Rupa Goswami because he's going so deep in Rupa Goswami's teachings, and he's adding things, so insights that does it. Of course, everything is inspired by Krishna, but he may have got it because he has his realizations in the Uppercut Lila, and from there he got it. And yeah, of course, because it's interesting. It's based on the commentaries of the previous acharyas. For him means the commentary of Sanatana Goswami, Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, his commentaries, and the writings of Rupa Goswami. But it's based on that, but he gets deeper insights. And it looks like sometimes he's analyzing the Sanskrit, but Srila Prabhupada said, yes, we cannot understand the scriptures just by analyzing the Sanskrit. So there is more to it. He brings it alive. He brings it alive. So, yes, that's a good question. But if we understand who Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur is, and the importance of understanding the mood of Rupa Goswami like no one else before. But so some devotees in the history were therefore wondering, is he a reincarnation of Rupa Goswami, who is Rupa Manjari? So that's the only thing I can say on that.
But isn't Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's identity also given as another separate manjari in the spiritual world?
Ganesha Deepika.
Yeah, I think his eternal spiritual form name is mentioned.
Yeah. That shows that he's part of Krishna's pastimes. That I don't know his name, but if someone can look that up in the Gaura Ganesha Deepika, I don't have it, but maybe someone can. Yeah.
My point is that if he has another name, that means he has his own, identity. He's not would imply that he's not an incarnation of Rupa Goswami, who is another.
Right. But if someone can look that up, would be interesting to know for next lesson. That good, interesting point. I don't know the answer, but I'm also looking forward to get more information about that. It'd be nice. And more insights. Anything else, please? Good. We go tomorrow we go deeper into the Brahma Gita and end it.
Ram Jyoti Prabhu was raising his hand through the ritual. I think you don't know how to raise.
Yeah. I don't know. Who raised his hand?
Swayam Jyoti Prabhu.
Swayam Jyoti.
It's the yeah, I saw it.
Please, Shaman Jyoti Prabhu.
Sorry, I missed the point.
Which point? You missed?
Sorry, somebody is talking about me. I don't know what point.
No. Someone said you wanted to ask a question.
Oh, earlier, yes, earlier. But anyway, it was a comment, basically. When Lord Krishna wears the garland, forest garland, then all the bees are humming around. This is in earlier chapters.
Yeah.
The bees are humming around. So those bees are also, servants of, they're serving Krishna. They're all personalities. And the same bees could be this bees which Radharani is comparing to. It could be the same bees because they are very close to Krishna.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about
Therefore, Srimati Radharani knows that we don't have this insight, but interesting comment. Thank you.
And the other point is that,
Yeah.
when Srila Prabhupada mentions that if you want to teach the daughter-in-law, then actually you have to talk to the daughter. And the daughter in such a way that the daughter-in-law hears. So similarly here, in my opinion, only my opinion, Radharani is talking to the bee, but she's trying to instruct Uddhava indirectly.
Yeah, it is certainly a
message.
It is certainly part of the story, because Srila Prabhupada, yeah, it's mentioned in the commentaries. She's indirectly speaking to Uddhav. That's right. Thank you for sharing that. Mother Prabhupada Priya, please.
Hare Krishna. I just looked up in ISKCON Desire Tree, the Gaudiya history, and it says that in Krishna Lila, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is called Vinod Manjari.
Yeah.
But it's also mentioned there that some of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's disciples considered him to be an incarnation of Rupa Goswami. So who knows? It might be, in Chaitanya Lila, sometimes each personality is more than one personality in one form,
Okay.
So
Then,
be one of the situations.
Then my question is, who is Vinod Manjari? If
Yeah.
someone has information about that,
Or research.
pastimes, would be interesting. Thank you. Good. Then now, if there are no further questions, then I look forward to continue with this chapter tomorrow. This evening, I'm leaving here the Ukraine Festival, and I have a night train to Kiev, 500 kilometers up, and then tomorrow I'm looking forward to meet you in cyberspace from Kiev. Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada.
The class is earlier tomorrow? Is it still earlier?
No, it's the same, the usual time. That means 3 p.m., right?
Right. I thought someone mentioned that the class would be earlier because you had a meeting or something.
Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow is 21st, Maharaj. You said tomorrow you have a meeting again.
Yeah, I have a Zoom meeting. And earlier, what does that mean?
So we can still have the class at 3 p.m. It's not a problem for you, Maharaj?
No, that's okay, 3 p.m. But I think my meeting starts at 4:30. 4:30 tomorrow.
Oh. So our class will just up a little.
Yeah, a bit shorter, but let's see. Even if I go a little over time and I miss some minutes of the other meeting, that it will be like today more probably. Good. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.